Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And no friends today, although a lot of friends last week. I attended a national from Wednesday morning through Sunday morning. And I just got back Sunday night. And I'm recording this on Tuesday. The experience was so spectacular and so voluminous that I decided to break up my national video into two videos. The first one is this one, which is the cards, which will be primarily the cards that I either purchased or had given to me as gifts at the national. The second video is going to be mostly about the amazing people that I had an opportunity to spend some time with at the national. And there'll be some spillover because people helped me with these cards, and there were cards that were related to the people. So if you're a viewer of my channel and you view in just to see the cards, this is the video to watch. If you're there for the whole experience, watch them both. But if you just care about the people, then go for video number 2, which will be out, I don't know, maybe Thursday, Friday. The national, this would be my second national. I drove down to Atlantic City 2 years ago to have a nice experience, hang out with a few friends, bought some good cards. It was a good show. This was a whole other level. This was staying in a house with 15 YouTube creators, going into the show, seeing all kinds of people that I'd seen on their videos. Obviously, some people I'd met at Strongsville and at other shows. But it was, I don't know, just one of those experiences where you feel like you hope it never ends. But unfortunately, it did end. What also ended was my budget. So you're going to see a lot of cards over how many minutes we do in this video. But let me just start. So there it is. That's Route 80 from Cleveland to Cleveland. I drove from New York City to Cleveland. Took me 7.5 hours. I said I arrived in the morning. I actually arrived up 2 something. And then took a trip down to over to what's called the IX Center. It's a convention center right next to the airport. It's about, I don't know, 10 miles from the Airbnb that I stayed in. But the problem was there was parking issues, there were traffic issues, and as you can see here, this is a screenshot of my Waze as I was waiting online just to get into the little boulevard that leads you into the parking lots, and you see all those little crazy Waze little doohickeys there. But the reality is, it was about 45 minutes to get in. But I did get in. I'm not going to complain. But there are some things I'll mention as we go through. But so once we got into the show, walked around, saw a lot of different big dealers, small dealers. Ultimately, took some photos of some stuff that I thought was cool that's not related to my cards, but this was an original Piedmont cigarettes display that was in the Heritage Auctions section, and I thought that was really cool. One of the things that was cool about it is that I was wearing a shirt that said Piedmont on it when I took this, but I somehow or another couldn't get the selfie working, so I just took a nice picture of that. These are 2 pictures of 2 displays that I thought were pretty awesome. The one on the left is Leighton Sheldon from Just Collect purchased a very large Hindu T206 collection, probably the biggest collection maybe that's ever been purchased. And he had them all displayed in one display. As you can see, he's graded a few of them, hasn't graded the vast majority of them. On the right is REA's big display, and I thought it was cool. They had the 4 Gaudy Babe Ruths in there, and nice lighted display. It looks like I got photobombed by a security guy with his hands crossed, but that's okay. So there was also non-sports, particularly photos. There was one guy who had some really, really high-end photos, and this is a unique item. It's the Grateful Dead. It's signed by all the 5 original members of the Grateful Dead. This is circa 71, 72. The gentleman in the middle, known as Pigpen, didn't sign very often, but he did sign this one. He passed away in March of 1973, so this would obviously date before that. The person selling this was asking a cool $100,000. I don't think they sold it. and I'm not sure if they're ever going to sell it, but $100,000. So anyway, last other people's cards. This is on the left is the Stallmeyer Mickey Mantle PSA 9, and of course the Stallmeyer Willie Mays PSA 9. But the Mantle is being offered by a dealer named Howie Chasser, who I've met and purchased from on many occasions. He's an East Coast guy, so he's at all the East Coast shows. And this Mantle on the left is priced a little above $2 million. And Howie was smart. He had a security guard standing by pretty much the whole show. The show being 4 days or 5 days, if you want to count the time period where all the dealers are there. And he obviously had other items, but this was right in the middle of his display case, and so I'm not sure what's going to happen with this Mantle, but it's a unique PSA 9 of a Stallmeyer. I believe the story is that it was a card that was taken from the factory before it got in with the hot dogs, where it would have been ruined with hot dog juice or whatever. So it's really super clean, which is how it ended up getting the 9. So Howie Chasser also was selling some pretty cool cards. The one on the far right, which is Redman, is a Redman 2. It's a PSA 2 of one of my player collections, Al Rosen. And I came about this because it was handed to me. I didn't go through the stack. Joe from Four Soft Corners was going through a stack of them, and I was standing next to him staring at that $2 million Mantle. And Joe hands this to me and says, "You're going to want this, right?" And I just looked at it. It was $18. And, of course, I bought it. It was my first purchase at the National. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Howie Chasser. And we spent a lot of time that night trying to figure out why it's only a 2, because it's damn near perfect. You can't really see it, but there's a little glue mark. Let me see if I can get a better bit of. There's a little bit of a glue mark right here. And if you look at it under the right amount of light, you can see there's like clear glue residue. So that's how you get a 2 on an otherwise perfect card. Next to that was my second purchase. Walked away from Howie, walked a couple of tables away, and there was a stack of the 1952 Num Num Cleveland Indian issue, local Midwest potato chip sales. And Num Num put out these. They're mostly the same as the photos from some of the team issues from the late 40s. But of course, Al Rosen did play on the 48 team very briefly. Didn't become a regular until 1950. I'd never seen this particular photo before, but this is Al Rosen Num Num. It's a PSA 7, which is a crazy high number. The reason there's no tab. Now I have the Feller from this with a tab. I have the Larry Doby without a tab. If this were graded by SGC, they would call it an A because it doesn't have the tab. But because it's PSA and it's absolutely gorgeous, it got a 7. So great purchase on this one. Got a good deal. I had tried to purchase a raw copy of this from dealer who wanted $80. I got this PSA 7 for a grand total of $60. As you can see next to that, I purchased the Warren Spahn doubleheader 1955, a 4.5. When I was at Strongsville, I almost bought this in a raw copy, much lower quality, for about the same price that I paid for this. I'm kind of, you'll see in a few minutes, I'm kind of building the set at this point. I'm up to 7 of 66. But this is, of course, for my Spahn collection. Very, very happy to have that. Moving along. Now, here we go. So, didn't just buy graded cards. The gentleman on the far right is Phil Massey, 1948 Braves catcher, pennant winner. He is, I believe, an all-star in 47 and 48. This is the tip-top bread. This was purchased at a random table for a very small amount of cash. I don't think they knew what they had. These are like $40, $50 on eBay, and I think I paid $17 The one in the middle, which is absolutely amazing, is the 1938 Dixie Lids Jimmy Fox. The way I got this one, total happenstance, total luck. I'm walking with Chris from Missouri and Mike Moynihan, and we run into Jake from Legends Never Die, and he's standing at the table, or multiple tables, of the deal with Tim Payne, who I'll talk about a little bit later. And we're just standing there, and I just glance down in there, and I see this, and I'm like, the price was already good, and I ended up negotiating to get a little bit down. Jimmy Fox, obviously, 1938 most valuable player. This is a Boston Red Sox Fox, and it still has the tab on it. I'm thinking grading-wise, and this is going to go into SGC probably the end of this week. Grading-wise, probably about a 2.5 to 3, and that would value it at about twice what I paid for. So this was a steal of a bargain and a beautiful card. The other raw card there is this is the E91-C of Joe Wood. Some people don't really like this particular set because the cartoons tend to be similar for multiple different players. So that's not necessarily Joe Wood. It's just kind of a cartoony guy. But this is a Boston card, and it's been very hard for me to find Joe Wood on Boston. You can find the caramels with him playing for Cleveland as an outfielder, and I once owned one of those and sold it because I didn't want Joe Wood on Cleveland. I want him on Boston. And a very special man, Doug, Joe Wood collector. I'll link to him down below, as I'll link to most of the people I mentioned here. We spent a lot of time sitting around talking about cards, and then he was talking about the various Joe Woods, and he took me to 3 different places to see Joe Woods, and I ended up getting this at a great value that he had negotiated because he decided he didn't want it, but I did. And so this is going to be going off to SGC. I'm thinking maybe 1.5. The last one sold for 500. This one, if it's a 1.5 to 2, value-wise will be more, and it's significantly more than I paid for it. So the dealer on this one is a guy that I'd like to connect with more because he had multiple cases of this kind of stuff, like oddball, high-end stuff with very good prices. He's a local East Coast guy, and I found out he's going to be going at the Philly show. So the next video, the People video, he'll have a mention too. His name is Dan McKee. So let's go to the next one. Let's get them better. There we go. So I mentioned that I'm now, I think, building this 55 doubleheader set. Of course, the Monty Irvin is a card that I have admired for long. I did the Monty Irvin show with Wade, and that was a good show. And this was one of the cards that Wade had, and it's been on my mind ever since. I bundled that with the Junior Jim Gilliam in the middle. Purchased that from the great dealer Bill Chappell, who had an amazing selection at the National. The one on the far right, Billy Goodman, is Giants infielder. I got that for a fraction of what it's worth in a random case that had some other cards in it that I'll talk about that were also well below what I thought the prices should be. That includes this little thing, the 1962 top stamp of Stan Musial that I purchased for a whopping $18. Going to grade this. It's obviously it's off center, 1 or 2, I don't care, but it's not. It's the beautiful yellow in that, and of course the Stan portrait. Anytime you can get a Stan Musial raw card for or stamp for under $20, I'm all in. And another 15 to grade it, and I'll have a nice little stand. And that's going to look really nice in the SGC. We'll come to it later, but I am, of course, now building the 54 Red Heart set. And I bought a couple of raw ones that were pretty sharp and well-centered from Bill Chappell. And so those are going to go off to SGC this week also. We'll come to it a little bit later, but I got some big boys from the 54 Red Heart set. It's a total of, I believe, is it 33 or 36 cards. And I think I'm up to about 15 now, so it's not going to be that hard to finish it, and mostly because at this point I have the big boys. So Also got some autographs. The one on the far right is Ozzie Smith, which was a situation where I had to wait and the lines were an issue. But Ozzie was nice and signed this and smiling and wonderful character. This is his rookie card. It's not a gradable card in terms of just without the auto. But I decided to walk over with, get it authenticated right on the spot, walk over to CGC/JSA and get it slabbed up. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it back to me until Sunday, and I wasn't going to be at the show on Sunday. So it's going to be mailed to me. Don't know how long it's going to be. But having a signed Ozzie Smith rookie card, getting to meet Ozzie Smith was wonderful. Card in the middle is was purchased from 80s Cardboard Chaos, who was in our house. Eddie and I arranged to have this. I purchased it from him, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and picked it up at the show. It's a dual signed auto of both Boog Powell and Andy Etchebarren. Did not have this in my 1970 Topps auto build, so add another to the list. And another one to the left is the great Johnny Bench. A lot to talk about with that one. I'll save that for the people portion of this. But Johnny was smiling and wonderful as usual, and this is now added to my 1970 auto set build. A lot more to discuss with that experience. I should mention, even though this is the card one, that I got that Johnny Bench auto. I didn't wait very long. And the reason I didn't wait very long is because Mike Moynihan did a super, super solid for me and got me up near the front of the line because he has friends that work for TriStar. And I am a person of, if there's one thing I do have as a good characteristic, I'm a very loyal person. And when somebody does me a favor like that, they've got my loyalty forever. So thank you, Mike, and thank you forever for that. So more cards. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so yes, it is Baseball Channel, but when you can get a 1978 Bernard King rookie card in a PSA 7 for $25, you buy it. I do collect some basketball. There will be some point where I do show off the basketball. I have the complete 71, 72 top set in a binder. I also collect a variety of different Knicks. Bernard King's on the Nets here, but as you know, he later on became a Knick, and he was completely awesome as a Knick until he blew out his knee. Hall of Famer, rookie card, $25 at a 7. The 3 CSG graded 1954 tops. I'm sort of building 54 tops. Have most of the biggies, filling in some stars and Hall of Famers here. These were gifts from Matt. Matt, the Card Starry, was the host of our house and did a fabulous job putting everyone together, keeping everyone together. It was a fantastic house. We'll talk more about that in the people set. But on the last day, he just brought out a box of cards. I don't want any of these anymore. Anybody want any of these? So here we are, just digging through. So picked up some guys that obviously are fitting into my collection other than the 54 set. Bill Johnny Padres, of course, won the 1955 World Series Game 7 with a shutout and was the MVP of the series. Junior Gilliam, great Dodger for many years, should be in the Hall of Fame. And Phil Rizzuto, of course, who is in the Hall of Fame. And I did that great two-parter with Andrea, the Phil Rizzuto show, and I've added this to my Phil collection. So good all around, good people, good cards, good players, good sets, good teams. 53 Bowman set build in all slabs continues. Nabbed 4 of these. The Jensen on the left is a 5. I got that for $25, which is another steal. The 3 in towards the right, which would include Dente, Fox, and Spec Shea. Those 3 are all high numbers, a little bit harder to find. $50 for the 5s. I don't know. They were marked at 60, got them down to 50. Maybe I could have paid a little less, but nabbing 3 at once was pretty cool. So marching on with the 53 Bowman set build, and that has a while to go, but knocking them off one by one or three at one. So now we start talking about some biggies here. Uh, my friend and yours, the cellar dweller, John Keating, um, was at the show. But when I saw this card on the left, this is the Keating, Ray Keating has a bunch of cards in the Zeenut set. And so I came across this, and I was thinking, oh, well, John's not here, so not gonna pick this up. And then that night, I ended up seeing John Keating at the get together on Thursday night. I didn't even know he was there, but I said to him I could have picked this up, but I didn't find it, and I didn't. So, but the next day I went back, rummaged through, searched it out, and found this. It's the 1931 Zeenut. Keating without coupon. It's an A because it doesn't have the coupon. It presents really nicely. I mean, there's no major creases in it. The little corners are a little dinged up. But Ray Keating does have a story. And also, I bought this. It was $25, another $25 purchase, just to have in my collection as a little bit of a tribute to John. And also because it's a Zeenut card. And so I went and checked the pop on this. This is a pop 1. This is the only copy of this card that has ever been graded by PSA. Now, I was going to give it to John, but he has it already. So I'm now the proud owner of a pop 1 Ray Keating card. In the middle is a card that I purchased pre-national from the great Rick Oddball Cards, and I'll link to him below. Was doing the thing where you sell off some cards that you don't really want to get some money to spend on stuff that you do want at the National. So I saw Rick at Thursday night and picked this up from him. We had prearranged the price and everything. Herbie Moran is an outfielder who played on the 1914 Boston Braves, who I'm collecting. I have quite a bit of 1914 Braves. I'd like to do a show. I haven't found a partner to do the show with, but I continue to look for that as I continue to build the set. I don't have all the Cracker Jacks. There's a few sort of random guys like Herbie Moran who I don't have, but the one I don't have that I do want to get is Rabbit Moranville, and then I'll sort of be done with the Cracker Jacks for the 14 Braves. So anyway, Herbie Moran, another Cracker Jack to the collection. Next to that is Fred Merkle. What's funny about this card is I went to a dealer. I saw the Colgan's Chips Honus Wagner. And now owning a Honus Wagner card would be pretty awesome. The photo that's used in the Colgan Chips Honus Wagner is the same photo that's used in the T206. So it's something that I would eventually like to get. He had it as, I believe it was an SGC 1 or 1.5. Had a big crease right in his face. And the asking price was $2,000. I didn't have that left in my budget by the time I saw this particular dealer, but I turned around to the other table, and there was Fred Merkle. I don't really collect Fred Merkle, but when I see the stuff, I'll buy it. And he's in this. It's called the Colgan Chips Teen Tops. Did a SGC Pop report on this, and this is a 2. I think there's a 4, and that's it. There's only 2 graded of this card. Only 2 graded examples, and I've got one of them. And it's kind of amazing that I do have one of them because at the show, and this is a word that got around, I heard it from multiple different people. A great niece of Fred Merkle was at the show. Now, Fred Merkle played in the teens. He's of course known for what's known as Fred Merkle's Boner. It was a play where he didn't touch second base on a game, what would have been a game-winning hit, and then the Cubs got the ball and touched second, and then the game ended up tied. It's a long story, but Merkle's Boner is what he's known for. But he was a solid player for quite a number of years. He played in the teens and the 20s. So if he's got a great niece, it might be like grand niece. But anyway, so she was apparently going around throughout the National buying up all the Fred Merkle stuff. But she didn't get this. It'll pop too. Can't get everything. But so anyway, happy to get this. This will be my first Colgan's Chips. As you can see, it's a nice portrait. It's very small. It's a 2. I don't know why it's a 2 because it's really very nice. I think maybe because the back is a bit off-centered. But nice card. And happy to have it, obviously. Happy to have scored it instead of Fred Merkel's grand niece. And so now we start to get into some of the biggies here. On the far right's the Ernie Banks rookie card, which is special to me for a number of reasons. One, this means that I can do the Ernie Banks show with my special guest, who we've talked about before. And I forgot, I got a message. Stacy and his daughter are going to do this. His daughter, hey, oh my God, now I can't remember her name. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I'll come up with it. It'll come to me probably 2 minutes from now. They're going to do the show because she has an awesome Ernie Banks collection and a great story behind it. So happy to finally get the Ernie rookie. The second reason this is special is that I bought it from Don Field of Dreams Cards, who is selling off some cards for personal reasons, but he's not leaving the hobby, and he's certainly not leaving YouTube. Don and I had talked about this card in Strongsville. Couldn't reach a number, but in the National, I found that he hadn't sold it yet, and now he sold it to me. It's a 4. It's not a 4. It's a 4 and a BVG holder. If I cracked this and sent it to SGC, you'd probably get a 2, 2.5. As you can see, the top centering, which tends to be pretty close to his name, is not good on this. Corners are okay. Upper left corner is problematic. So, I mean, I feel like I got a good, fair deal between Don and I on this card, and I'm going to leave it in the BVG holder and be happy. I should mention that an Ernie Banks PSA 5, a much nicer example of that, was purchased by our friend Greg at Midlife Sports Cards, and I'll link to his video. It's a really special event that happened when Greg got a chance to buy what he has called his Grail card. And this isn't a Grail card for me, but it is a special card. So very happy to get the 54 rookie Ernie Banks. I mentioned Red Hearts. Picked this up, a PSA 6 of the Duke Snider. Was able to afford a high-end Duke Snider. Of course, he fits in my Dodger collection, and he's one of the biggies in the Red Heart set, and happy to pick that one up. So obviously building that set, and we'll talk about it a little bit more just a few minutes from now. Now, the one on the left might be the best card that I purchased overall at the entire show in the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 4 days I was there. Of course, it's Bob Feller. I have a very large Bob Feller collection that's up there. Did a show on it. But I continued to build even after doing the show. Saw this, not a common Bob Feller photo. You don't see this one around much. And Bond Brand, of course, a set that has had its controversies because it was a big reprint discovery in the 80s. This is what they call, was it the beveled corner? It's sort of the rounded corner, which is the correct 1947 issue. PSA doesn't grade these anymore, but SGC does because they are able to determine what is authentic and what is not. There's about 60 in the pop report here, but you notice the grade on that is 7. There are only 8 7s, or 9 7s. I'm sorry, 9 7s. And 7 is the top grade. There's no 8s, no 9s, no 10s, no 0.5s. So top graded example of this card. Very happy to have it. So fits in my fellow collection, fits in my Bond Bread. I like to pick these up when I can get them. And of course, anytime you can get a top graded example. Purchased this from Ash, who will be mentioned in the People episode, but he had a price on it, worked with me on it, got down to a good number that I could deal with, and honestly, it is my favorite pickup of the entire show. 1947 Bob Feller Bond Bread. So that was a good one. Let's see. I think I've got one more. Yeah, one more slide. So yeah, these are the big boys. We'll start in the far right with Bill Dickey. So I mentioned when I got the Jimmy Fox 38 Dixie lids from Tim Payne, when just luckily was there because Mike and Jake and Chris were all hanging out. And so while I was there, actually, I think it was after I bought the Fox, they were talking, we're still kind of hanging out. I walked over and I saw the card, one of the cards that I've been searching for. And it's the 1939 Play Ball Bill Dickey. It will fit obviously, in my 1939 Yankees collection. Yankees collection in general, Bill Dickey collection. And I was looking for a nice mid-grade, centered, not perfectly centered, but centered, in a 5, and I knew the price point, and I got this under my price point. So I was able to get it was priced pretty fairly on the top, and I got a little taken off. So as I joked on a live stream last week, I have been picky with the Dickey, and I'm being picky was in fact the way to go here, because I ended up getting exactly what I wanted. There were different versions of this at the show. They were higher graded, that were more expensive, but this fits exactly what I wanted. The 5, a nice example of a 5, and at the price, a little less than what I expected to pay. So good on Mr. Payne for being so good about this. Now, the 2 on the left were, of course, my biggies for the week. Purchased these on Wednesday. Now, Wednesday's the preview. You get in at 4 o'clock if you got the VIP pass. I got a little later for details I won't get into now. But walked around and I saw the Mantle. And as you can see, and I'll show it a little close up here, it has issues. The issues are mostly on the bottom. There is some tape residue. And let's see if we can get the right angle on this. We can see, there's some tape residue on the top. But on the face and the color is mostly all clean. The back is pretty much perfect. The price was really nice, really competitive price. Here you can see that right here you can see that. That's tape residue. It's not dog food. So this is Red Heart dog food. This is the main card in the set. When you get the Mantle, it means you're building the set. Or the other way around, you're not building the set until you have the Mantle. So, saw this at a pretty good price. Figured I can get a little bit off of it. But then I looked around and turned around the corner of this dealer's tables and saw my main target for the National. And saw a pretty good price on that too. And figured if I bundled them together and went down and made a good offer, that I could score both of these cards in one shot. And if I didn't do 1s and 1.5s on these, I would not have been able to get these 2 cards, financially get these 2 cards at the same show. But there I go. Not only same show, but same dealer, same deal. DiMaggio, as you can see, it is a 1, and the reason it's a 1 is not because of the front, because the front presents pretty well. There is, there's some rounded corners. It's pretty well centered, but the problem with this, of course, is the back. It looked like there's the 4 corners of glue into a binder or an album and pulled out rather unceremoniously to result in some paper loss. But I don't really display the backs, as you can see. I display the fronts, and this one displays pretty well. As there's a little bit, I think it's a little bit of a tiny crease down his head right here. It shows up a little better, I think, in the photograph. Yeah, you can see it. It's down his hat and goes down to his left eye. But completes my 39 Yankee set. Add another DiMaggio to my DiMaggio collection. And another biggie, iconic card. Of course, the Mantle is another iconic card. It will go up in the Mantle box up here. And so that was my those are the cards from the National for me. I feel like I had a good show. And we'll talk about this in the People episode, but I spend a lot of time lone wolfing it, and there is assistance as I talked about. There was assistance for me getting these cards. There was a lot of people. The first card I got was Joe literally handed it to me. But I lone wolf a lot. I think one of my strengths is that I know what I'm looking for. I think I have a pretty good eye, but one of my weaknesses is I don't rely enough on some of the amazing people in the hobby and some of the amazing knowledge that they have. And when I saw some of the pickups that some of these guys had gotten, I was like, wow, how did I not see that? How did I miss that? How did I not find that? And I think some of it is maybe being a little what's the word for it? Uh, when you laser focused on stuff and not see it. Tunnel vision is the word I'm looking for, or the phrase I'm looking for. So I'm going to try to do some less tunnel vision stuff when I go to my next shows. My next show is going to be the Philly show. I'm not going to make it to Hofstra because of a vacation. The Philly show is my next show. Probably do something in December. We've already talked about doing Strongsville next April, so I'm on board for that. But this national was, I mean, you can't. It's a fairyland of cards. It's a Christmas every day. It's just amazing the amount of material there, the amount of collectors, the amount of great dealers, the things that you could find. And there's some things that I didn't find till the last couple of days that I spent all my money on, and I didn't have the resources to pick up some of the things that I thought I could have picked up. So there's always going to be regrets, but I don't have any regrets for this collection of material that I have added to my collection in many different aspects of it. So thanks for watching. My next video, another one with me, will be part 2 of my national experience. The other thing is I have Saturday, I have Super Collector. Mike, the sports history collector, is going to come on. We're going to talk about the 1971 to 75 A's. He's got an expansive autographed collection of those many players, and I lived it. So I'm really excited about this one. Of course, I've got a pretty good selection of those cards too. But thanks for viewing. Thanks for checking in. I'm not sure which day my part 2 is going to be up, but it'll be the next few days. And of course, we'll have Mike on Saturday and more coming up. Just briefly, I met a lot of people at the national that agreed to be on my show. So I've added a whole bunch of new guests that I'm really excited about. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next couple of days.